Hello YouTube! I'm going to be reading from A New Concept of the Universe, written by Walter Russell. Inadequacy of Kepler's first law. The saving grace of Kepler's mathematics lies in the fact that he did not try to prove by them a premise or conclusion which is not true, as Newton did by claiming that his equations prove that matter attracts matter and the moon is falling on the earth. His laws are free from such claims and demonstrate to a high degree the orderliness of effects of strains and tensions in a wave field. If wave fields were not balanced in their polarity, such laws would not work out in nature as they do. It is because of the absolute equality of division of opposing pressures in every wave field that such laws are workable. Kepler's first law reads as follows. Each planet moves around the sun in ellipse, with the sun in one of its foci. This law is right as far as it goes, but there are two foci to every orbit, and each of them has equal power in determining the rates of acceleration and deceleration of speed. Just as Newton's law accounted for the falling apple, but ignored the other half of the apple cycle from the zero of its beginning to the zero of its ending, so, likewise, Kepler's first law accounts for but one half of an orbit by the reference to only one of its two foci. Every orbit is balanced and controlled by four magnetic poles, not two. It has not yet been known that there are four magnetic poles, but a three-dimensional cube sphere universe would be impossible with only the two north-south poles. I will enlarge more upon these four magnetic poles in a later chapter, and describe the separate offices which each fulfills in the extension and retraction of wave fields. The two unknown east-west poles, which control the shortening and lengthening elliptical orbits, are those interferently referred to in the Kepler's law. In order to comprehend the periodicity of the familiar north-south magnetic poles, it is necessary to comprehend the relationship between these two opposing pairs of north-south and east-west magnetic poles, and their manner of extension from a common fulcrum of their retraction to it. As planets obulate, their north-south poles gradually move away from their poles of rotation. Our Earth has become sufficiently obulated from its magnetic poles to move to an angle of 23 degrees from the pole of rotation. This periodicity is balanced by an angular periodicity of planets' equators moving away from the equators of their centering suns, where all planets of all systems are born from rings. The equator of our Earth has moved out of the plane of the solar equator to keep pace with the polar shift. Each must balance the other. The four magnetic poles control the balance. These are important facts which should have been inquired into when Kepler wrote his law. It is not important to know that the sun is one of its orbital foci if the tremendous significance of the two foci is ignored. The amazing fact is that matter and space are playing seesaw with each other in the proportions of an ant and an elephant. The mechanics which balance and control such a stupendous game and such mathematical precision is an important thing to know. An ant and an elephant can play seesaw if the ant has a sufficiently long lever, and that is practically what is happening throughout space, suns and planets being the ant and space being the elephant. The planets and moons of all solar systems are gradually tearing their suns into rings in a most orderly manner, with the precision which is mathematically measurable in direct and inverse ratios. The four magnetic poles in two opposing pairs control the amazing performance of nature within every wave. That is the important thing to know. By means of this knowledge of God's ways in nature, we can make them our ways in the laboratory, and thus have a command over nature which man has never had beyond the comprehension of his day. It seems incredible that Kepler would have known of these two east-west poles without having realized their purpose and their necessity in a three-dimensional universe. Knowledge of God's ways will alone give science the power to balance all effects in the universe of man's making as God balances them in the universe of his making. The precision of every effect in God's universe is so perfectly managed that an astronomer can calculate to the split second the position of any planet in the solar system, or as accurately foretell an eclipse of one by the other. The secret of man's ability to control his universe lies in the knowledge of the tonal octave wave and its field. Therefore, know the wave in all of its simplicity of 3 times 3 in numbered effect, multiplied to infinite complexity, but still not passing beyond the 3 times 3 of man's easy comprehension. The first great step in acquiring knowledge of the wave field must be the great revolution in scientific thinking in regard to matter itself. In order to control matter, science must know what it is and all of the various steps of its generation from zero into form and its degeneration back to zero. It must know matter for what it is instead of believing it to be what it is not and working with it on that premise. The rest of this treatise will be devoted to clarifying the meaning of this one subject.